Your body wasn't designed to make you happy. It was designed to keep you safe. And to your biology, safe means keeping everything exactly as it is. Which is why, right before a major leap, your nervous system slows down drastically, because it is conserving energy for the new configuration. You feel a heavy, almost magnetic pull toward stillness, a sudden lack of the frantic motivation that brought you to this edge, and you mistake this deceleration for a loss of alignment or a failure of the manifestation process itself. This internal quiet feels like a void, a stagnation that triggers an immediate survival response because your ego interprets a lack of movement as a lack of progress. Yet this is the precise moment where the most profound biological restructuring is taking place beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. Asoy. You might find yourself staring at walls, unable to find the words for your goals, or feeling a strange sense of detachment from the very desires that used to keep you awake at night, creating a friction between your mental expectations of speed and your body's requirement for stability. This is the invisible mistake. You try to caffeinate, force, or visualize your way out of the very state that was meant to anchor your new identity, effectively interrupting the neural remapping before the hardware has time to cool down and reset. You are standing at the threshold of a massive internal update, yet you are treating the loading screen like a system crash, unaware that the more significant the breakthrough, the deeper the biological silence must become to accommodate the shift. Let's break down what your nervous system is actually doing. This follows what I call the neural stabilization framework, the predictable phases your nervous system moves through during identity change. Most people believe that growth is a linear, upward trajectory of increasing excitement and high-vibe energy. But evolutionary biology suggests that any significant deviation from your set point is viewed by the amygdala as a potential threat to your survival, requiring a massive expenditure of metabolic resources to manage the transition. When you move toward a breakthrough, you are essentially asking your brain to abandon a proven survival map for an unproven one, which triggers a biological low-power mode intended to protect the organism from overextending during a period of structural vulnerability. But there is a moment most people completely misinterpret, a specific type of fatigue that isn't caused by exhaustion, but by the sheer intensity of the cellular reorganization happening in the background. This deceleration is actually a sophisticated defense mechanism designed to ensure that the new you isn't just a temporary emotional spike, but a sustainable biological reality that can handle the increased complexity of the life you are calling in. We must understand that the nervous system does not care about your dreams. It cares about homeostasis, and when you prepare to shatter that homeostasis, the body's first response is to pull the brakes to check if the new environment is stable enough for long-term inhabitation. The neural architecture of your brain relies on prediction error, the difference between what you expect to happen and what actually happens. And when you enter the phase right before a breakthrough, your brain loses its ability to predict your next state with 100% accuracy. This prediction gap creates a temporary instability where the old neural pathways are being inhibited, while the new ones haven't yet achieved full myelination, leaving you in a biological no man's land where the only safe action is to slow down. This is the observer effect in real time. By noticing the slowness and labeling it as stagnation, you inadvertently collapse the wave function back into your old identity, because you are using an old emotional lens to judge a new biological process. You must realize that your internal state is currently undergoing a massive recalibration where the neurotransmitters responsible for seeking behavior, like dopamine, are being temporarily sidelined to allow for the integration of serotonin-based stability markers. This shift from chase to be is often experienced as a heavy, lethargic, or even depressive fog. But it is actually the sensation of your identity remapping itself in the dark, away from the prying, judgmental eyes of your conscious mind. If you attempt to force excitement during this phase, you create a calm versus excitement, instability that the nervous system interprets as a chaotic signal, causing it to double down on the resistance and extend the period of slowness into a permanent plateau. Have you noticed this silence lately? It's your DNA deciding if the new reality is safe enough to become permanent. This is not a psychological choice you're making. It is an evolutionary gatekeeper checking for the structural integrity of your nervous system before allowing the final click into the new timeline. Think of your breakthrough as a high-voltage current. If your current internal wiring is only rated for 110 volts and you try to pull in 220, your circuit breakers will trip to prevent a total system meltdown. The slowness you feel is the upgrade to your internal wiring, the widening of your capacity to hold more wealth, more love, or more influence without being destroyed by the pressure of it. When you stop fighting the silence and instead allow the nervous system to integrate, you signal to your biology that you are no longer a victim of your circumstances, but a stabilized observer of your own evolution. This usually happens after resistance collapses. The moment you stop measuring how far you've gone and start trusting the biological preparation, the braking mechanism releases because the threat of instability has been neutralized by your own internal stillness. The concept of threshold identity state suggests that you must exist in a period of total neutrality before the new version of yourself can fully occupy the physical space once held by the old. This is why self-sabotage often appears disguised as logic during this phase. Your mind will tell you that the manifestation isn't working or that you've done something wrong, precisely because the silence is so foreign to your previous way of operating. In the neural stabilization framework, we understand that the most dangerous thing you can do during a breakthrough is to try harder, because trying is a high beta brainwave state that reinforces the identity of the person who doesn't have the result yet. True breakthrough occurs in the alpha-theta bridge, a state of profound relaxation and neural coherence, where the brain can finally synchronize the heart's electromagnetic field with the new intention. If your body is screaming for rest, while your mind is screaming for results, you are experiencing a prediction error that can only be resolved by choosing the body's wisdom over the mind's anxiety. Evolutionarily, those who could remain still during periods of environmental shift were the ones who survived, while those who panicked and ran toward the unknown without preparation were often eliminated. Your nervous system is simply running the ancient software of survival to ensure your breakthrough doesn't become your breakdown. As you approach the final stages of this recalibration, the minimal integration principle takes over, where the less you do, the faster the stabilization occurs. This is a paradox of quantum manifestation. The more you surrender to the biological slowness, the more quickly your external reality accelerates to match your internal frequency. You are moving through a reinterpretation of your internal state, where you no longer see boredom or flatness as negative, but as the high-level stabilization of a new set point. The nervous system is finally learning that the new reality, the wealth, the health, the relationship, is not a peak experience that will cause a crash, but a baseline state that is safe to maintain 24 hours a day. This is how breakthroughs become permanent rather than temporary flashes in the pan. They are anchored in the very cells of your body, supported by a nervous system that no longer perceives the change as a threat. You are essentially teaching your DNA a new language of safety, one that allows for expansion without the need for a subsequent contraction to balance the scales. Stop reacting. Stop measuring. Let it stabilize. Let the nervous system integrate. The sensation of being stuck is actually the sensation of being deeply rooted before the upward growth begins. If you are in this phase, comment stabilizing. Understand that your biology is your greatest ally, not your enemy. It is the physical substrate upon which your consciousness builds its masterpieces, and it requires time to adjust to the new dimensions you are exploring. Don't interpret slowness as failure. It is biological preparation, and this is only one phase inside the neural stabilization framework. If this perspective expands your awareness, subscribe so you don't interrupt the next shift. The silence was recalibration.